Here we have Tom Kirchhoff, and he's the chief of Irondequoit Ambulance. And Tom, what's your background?
My background is this is a profession. I was a firefighter for 23 years as a career in Greece. I also was a volunteer in Henrietta many years ago. And I've worked for Irondequoit Ambulance for 27 years in primarily the role of a paramedic or a supervisor or the chief as I went through my time here.
So you do a little of everything. You go out in the ambulance and you...
We go out in the ambulance, we manage, I have to manage the advanced life support, which are the paramedics, kind of forecasting where the organization goes and taking command at any large incidents.
How many ambulances you got?
We own 5 ambulances. Typically 2 of them are slated to run 24 hours a day. The third ambulance comes up 9 in the morning till 11 at night. And depending upon the supervisory staff, which is myself and my deputy, we'll man a 4th ambulance during the day.
How much of a crew do you have? Because you're 24/7, so you got to have a big crew.
We're 24/7. We have about 45 employees here, about half of them being full-time, half of them being per diem. So they work all sorts of varying shifts. Shifts are long and interesting in EMS, and there's a necessity to rotate their shifts because we have to cover 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
So some of these are, I don't know what you want to call them, part-timers or whatever, or firemen on the side?
They have a lot of different jobs. We have part-timers that are hairdressers, part-timers that are firefighters, part-timers that are just stay at home and raise the kids. It's a whole interesting mix. Some of them have spent a lot of time in EMS and just work part-time in it now. Some of them have other full-time jobs and like to come for some of the excitement that we do here in this job.
Yeah, what's the difference between this and the fire department?
Fire department is kind of all hazards. They're dealing with fires, emergencies, all sorts of rescues. Our job is the emergency medical part of it, taking care of your health issues you might have at home, helping negotiate the healthcare system today. Sometimes it's not that easy.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, and basically transportation. Our job is to get you from home to the hospital. Sometimes it's not quite that simple, but that ultimately is probably the simplest breakdown in it.
Yeah. Say there's a car accident, would they call the fire department and you and maybe the police? You know what I'm saying, a bad car accident?
So a lot of the stuff you're going to get when you call 911, you get a million questions.
Yeah.
And that's very important because that is telling the telecommunicator and dispatcher what gets assigned to that call. So if you have a car accident, you're going to get police because there's a law enforcement portion. They have to manage the roadway and our safety on the roadway. The fire department will typically come to manage hazards, fuel spills, antifreeze leaks, and stuff like that. And they'll also provide some basic medical help. And then our job is to come, do the final assessment, treatment, and transportation of the patient from there.
Yeah. Say I call 911, how do I know if I'm going to get you or I'm going to get the fire department? Or
when you call 911, typically your telephone is verified. If you're calling from a home phone, it will verify your address. They'll ask you the questions to also verify your address if you're calling via cell phone. From there, the computer tells them what district you're in and then what ambulance to send. Irondequoit is the primary responder in the town of Irondequoit, and our area we serve normally is, if you draw a line from Carter Street up to the lake, we serve everything to the east side of that. The west side is covered by a contract with Monroe Ambulance at this point, so we cover pretty much everything to the east. What happens is if we're not available because all our units are out, the county has a computer system that does dispatching, and that will find the next closest, most appropriate ambulances. Our vehicles in the county have a computer in them. They GPS their location, and it tells the computer downtown who's the closest and makes the assignment and tells the dispatcher who to send.
what about Seabreeze Fire Department? Are they the only one that's got their own ambulance?
There's not many fire department ambulances left. We call them municipals. Seabreeze Ambulance is going to be one of the few. The other one is Rush Ambulance that has their own fire department ambulance. The remainder from there, primarily across Monroe County, are a mix of small not-for-profits like Irondequoit Ambulance is, or commercial entities such as AMR and Monroe.
So the structure's kind of changed.
It's very different. A lot of our structure changed. We were originated in 1982, and that was great when people only had one full-time worker at home, and they had a lot of time to volunteer on the side, and where you'd maybe only have 200-300 calls a year.
Well, Kodak would let you take time off.
Kodak will let you take time off. There used to be a lot of DPW workers that could be released to come to emergency scenes. And unfortunately, as we fast forward through the years, there's a couple things that change. There's a lot of dual income families. Both people are workers. There's a lot of people that have to work 2 jobs and make ends meet. So that reduces your volunteer time. On the other side of the coin in the EMS world, the training has exponentially increased. So it isn't just a simple couple-hour course. EMTs take a 110-hour course. That's really the easy part. After the 110-hour course is to become certified. They have to be able to drive the vehicles in emergency situations. They have to operate the equipment efficiently for all situations. They have to understand how to read medical conditions and apply treatments, and then transport them to the hospital effectively. That takes weeks on top of that to learn, even at a full-time basis. And then paramedics from there. Paramedics are our next level provider in those vehicles. And the paramedics, it's a year-long course they go. There's a lot of costs involved in that, and then their training and continual training is quite intensive. It's not simply a bunch of people with a first aid card anymore. The other situation is when I started here, I started in 1997, I started working here, and we had 1,200 calls a year. Last year we had 5,500 ambulance calls in our area, and additionally another 3,000 requests to go outside of our area across the county to assist in coverage. So this is a very busy place. We have a lot of calls all day long.
How come? What's causing this?
A lot of shifting, just a reduction in volunteers everywhere, reduction in manpower.
Why more calls?
A lot of people have problems negotiating their health care, getting in to see their doctors. They not sure what to do, so a lot of the solution to that is to call an ambulance and go to the hospital.
Go to emergency.
Go to the emergency room and get their problem solved. A good number of them are legitimate uses in the emergency room, and a lot of them probably could be better served by urgent cares or contacting their doctor and setting an appointment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you triage these people? I mean, 911 triage them, or I mean?
There's very little triage when they can do. EMS kind of exists in a world is a better way to say it, and kind of not the cleanest way. It's a you call, we haul. Is the easiest way to say it. If you dial 911 and request an ambulance, our job is to provide an ambulance that responds to your house and either solves your problem or transports you to the hospital. That's about our two answers to it.
Yeah, who pays for this? I mean, the insurance, or you guys, or I mean, what?
That's the big question, and this is a question that really is across the whole country at this point. We're mandated by New York State to receive the call without the patient's ability to pay or not pay, so we have to respond to these locations. And we are funded, up until this year, we are funded 100% by charging for service, okay? At this point here, different communities handle this in different ways. The town of Irondequoit has not provided any funding for this previously. And this year is our first year. Our budget is about $2.1 million a year to operate. And the town has agreed, due to some stipulations in contract, up to $300,000. So the rest of all of that budget has to come from patient transport services.
What's that mean? Insurance, or you
Well,
get a bill?
That's a whole interesting thing. So the insurance industry is going to regulate that Irondequoit has a set bill. It's called a usual and customary rate, and that's usually the shocker when you deal with ambulance bills. We have a usual and customary rate that has to go out everywhere. If we alter that amount or alter those amounts, we can be audited, so we have to be very careful how we do that.
You're paying for the other guy, basically.
Yeah, there's stuff in there. So what a lot of people don't understand is they'll get the bill, and depending upon what your insurance carrier pays. So right off the bat, the best way to describe this, about 25% of our total call volume doesn't go to an insurance provider. So there's about 12% are good intent, no patient founds, standbys, or other things that require an EMS response.